Welcome to my 5 at 5, and you know the drill. If you've been watching regularly this season, you know how we start these. If your team is top of the league, hit that like button. Now look, clearly we've come off a very frustrating game against Newcastle, but things are still very positive. We are top of the league, and it's important to remind ourselves of that. So let's get stuck in to my 5 at 5. Number one, and that is bigger picture. It's important to point out, and I didn't actually remember this after the game immediately yesterday, this was the first time Arsenal have not won at home in the Premier League. Brilliant, considering we're almost halfway through the season and we've won every single game up to this point. And secondly, this is the first time in the entire Premier League this season, home or away, where we have failed to score a goal. Important to say that and to really remember that, because even though it felt frustrating yesterday and obviously Newcastle were very annoying to watch, Arsenal have been brilliant at home this season. And you can't expect to win all 19 games at home. Clearly, there are going to be some difficult days. Yesterday was a difficult day. And the good thing about it was that we didn't look vulnerable at the back. There were no real times when Newcastle concerned me too much. They had one shot on target. Other than that, Tomiyasu with a good interception late in the second half prevented maybe a scary moment. But really, we had the game largely under control, as evidenced by our 67% possession. Now, when you look at the Premier League home league table, Arsenal and Man City both have 22 points, but Man City have played a game more. That actually means that Arsenal have got the best home record out of any Premier League team this season. Important for Arsenal fans to remember that. The fact that we've scored in every single game other than this frustrating game against Newcastle. We've won every single home Premier League game up to this bloody game against Newcastle. So you really can't get on the team, the manager or the players' backs too much. And thankfully, I feel like the response from Arsenal fans has been decent. It's been understanding, and it's been within that wider context that I've just outlined. Things are still good. Number two, and from talking about something where we've been very good, we'll talk about a player that's been very good, and that is Gabriel Martinelli. Someone that's been brilliant all season, and Arsenal fans have really finally had that coming of age from Gabriel Martinelli, where for years we were looking at him thinking this kid is ready to explode, and now he has really cemented his place as a first team player, as a first 11 starter for Arsenal, and has done brilliantly. But yesterday was not his day. And you might be surprised to hear that out of 10 ground duels, he won 0. Out of 5 dribbles, 0 successful ones. And out of 4 crosses, 0 successful crosses. It was a real struggle for Gabriel Martinelli. Look, I love him, absolutely adore him. And someone in the comments has been saying to me, you haven't given him enough praise this season. So it is unfortunate. I know that the first time I might be speaking about him is to kind of point out a performance that wasn't very good. But listen, make no mistake. I love Martinelli. I think he's been fantastic. He's a player that has me on the edge of my seat. Really got a lot of time for him. But yesterday was a struggle. And that, for me, was part of 2 reasons. If you haven't checked out my post-match reaction, check it out. It'll be in the pinned comment below where I talk about Martinelli. But just in short, Kieran Trippier did brilliantly against him. A lot of the time when Martinelli received the ball, the pass was maybe a bit behind him. He had to sort of check, and it wasn't perfect to him, didn't allow him to get on the front foot and therefore put Trippier on the back foot. That was one reason. The second reason was not enough variation in the way Martinelli chose to cause Kieran Trippier and the Newcastle defence trouble. They doubled up at points, tripled up, but sometimes I felt like Martinelli needed to play the ball first time, and even more so than that, he needed to take Trippier on the outside to give him something to think about and make himself less easy to be read, and also make runs off the ball. Too often, Martinelli was static and wanted the ball played to his feet rather than receiving the ball on the run. Had he varied that up a little bit, I think he would have had a lot more joy. But I think this game presents a massive learning opportunity for Martinelli to understand how he can be effective in a game in which a defender is getting the better of him. In any case, look, Martinelli's been fantastic, and hopefully he'll learn from this, and we know next week he'll be back to banging in crosses and goals and successfully dribbling past players like he's been doing all season. Point number 3, 43-17. And if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about 43 minutes and 17 seconds is the amount of time the ball was in play in the game between Arsenal and Newcastle yesterday. Now, a lot of that was Newcastle's doing. It was very, very intentional. And I'll give you a little bit more context around that number, 43-17, and also how good Newcastle are at doing this and really stealing time away from games. Look at this table. What this shows you is the amount of time the ball is in play on average in the Premier League dating back to the 2006-2007 season. You'll see the 2021-22 season last year, the ball was in play on an average of 55 minutes and 3 seconds, which is the lowest since the 2010-2011 season, meaning that last season was the lowest amount of ball in play time for over a decade in the Premier League. Now, who are the biggest offenders? This table that you're looking at now shows you Newcastle appeared in the top 10 fixtures with the lowest ball in play time, more than any team, or no other team featured more than Newcastle, I should say, in this list of top 10. They were in 2nd position, 3rd position, 9th and 10th position. So clearly, this is something they're quite good at. And they did it expertly against Arsenal yesterday. Clearly, they know that Arsenal are the stronger team. So the less time that they have to defend against us, the less time they have to face us, is beneficial for them in terms of getting a positive result. Now, the question that I've got for you guys is that, given that the averages we've seen around 55 minutes, would you like to see an idea that's been touted before of a 60-minute stop clock, meaning as soon as the ball goes out of play, the clock is stopped and the game doesn't finish until at least 60 minutes of ball in play time have been completed? Let me know your comments below, and let me know if you want to see that being introduced into the Premier League to defeat the time waste. Number 4, and I want to talk about Fabio Vieira. In my match reaction yesterday, which again is in the pinned comment below, I was quite annoyed at the fact that we were unable to even make one attacking substitution. Now, when I've mentioned that to some fans, people have said, well, we didn't have anyone on the bench. Yes, we do. We've got Fabio Vieira, we've got Marquinhos. Now, I appreciate these two might not be the sort of names that are going to strike fear into opponents' hearts, but why do we have them on the bench if we're not willing to use them when we so clearly needed to? Two players that struggled yesterday, Martinelli and Ødegaard, the two players that I've just mentioned, and Fabio Vieira and Marquinhos, are both players that play in those positions. Marquinhos could have come on for Gabriel Martinelli, and Fabio Vieira could have come on for Martin Ødegaard. Not that I'm suggesting that's what we should have done, I'm just saying potentially could have done. Maybe it would have made more sense to say, given the domination that we had, especially in the last 10-15 minutes of that game, perhaps Granit Xhaka, who was on a yellow card, could have come off and Fabio Vieira could have come on. But when I talk to people about Fabio Vieira, there seems to be this thing that I'm hearing that apparently he's not ready. He's not ready to play for Arsenal in a physical game. And I reject that. Fabio Vieira has been at the club for over 6.5 months. It's very, very worrying to me if people are telling me that a player that's been at the club for over 6 months is not ready to play 10 minutes of Premier League football at home. That is absurd. He has played in the Premier League on 9 occasions this season, amassing 242 minutes. And in those appearances and in those minutes, he's got 1 goal and he's got 1 assist. There aren't many players in our squad that have got a better long-range strike than Fabio Vieira, and perhaps that's exactly what we needed. With Newcastle doubling and tripling up on Saka and Martinelli, a quick ball into the middle where Fabio Vieira might have had some space to unleash a shot could have been a way to goal that we didn't really have utilised on the pitch. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree when people say Fabio Vieira is not ready to come on as a sub for 10 or 15 minutes in this game, or that it was too physical for him? Or do you agree with me, where any player that's been at the club for over 6 months should be ready for 10 minutes of Premier League football? Let me know in the comments below. And number 5, this is a bit of a random one that you might not be expecting, but I wanted to give the club some credit because yesterday I saw something that I have never ever seen at a Premier League ground before. And that was at halftime when you have someone interviewing ex-professional or a footballer or whatever guest it might be. I've never ever seen an accompanying sign language communicator next to them. But at Arsenal yesterday, that's exactly what I saw. Perhaps I've missed it, but I think this was a great touch. And this same individual, as you can see on the video that you're looking at right now, when they had a junior gunner or a young academy player penalty shootout competition, she also went over to that to make sure that people that might be visually impaired, might be hearing impaired, can still follow and join in with the halftime entertainment. Just wanted to mention that because every little type of thing that the club do to make the game more inclusive, I think deserves a bit of attention and a bit of credit. So well done, Arsenal Football Club. That's all from my 5 at 5. We move on to Oxford in the FA Cup. That will be one hell of a cup tie. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully we get the return of Emile Smith-Rowe, who would have been so useful to have on the bench against Newcastle yesterday. In any case, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know if you think Chelsea can do us a favour, and especially Aubameyang do us a favour against Man City and help us maintain or even increase our lead at the top of the table. Take care. See you next time.